afternoon, Ms. Kovacevic. And Ms. Kovacevic, do you know that you are here today in your personal capacity and also as a representative of your agency, WME?
I do.
Ms. Kovacevic, what do you do for work?
I'm a talent agent.
Would you please describe in just very general terms what a talent agent does generally?
Generally, you procure work for your clients. You make introductions, you read their scripts, you negotiate their deals.
And I take it Ms. Hurd is one of your clients?
Yes.
Did Ms. Hurd have a successful career at the time you began working with her?
Yes.
And over the period that you've worked with Ms. Hurd as her agent, what have your job responsibilities entailed?
Like I mentioned before, introducing her to producers and directors, writers, studio executives, procuring work for her, introducing her to people that can employ her, and then negotiating her deals, and then dealing with whatever happens on while she is working, anything that arises that needs dealing with.
Did you ever, at any point in time, see Mr. Depp hit Ms. Hurd?
No.
Were you working with Ms. Hurd when she was cast in the original Aquaman?
She was cast in Justice League first, and then the deal was to be in Justice League, the first Aquaman and the second Aquaman.
Did you assist Ms. Hurd in procuring the role of Mira in Aquaman?
Yes.
Was Aquaman a successful movie?
Extremely.
Was Ms. Hurd's performance in the film well received critically?
Yes.
Were there any negative views about Ms. Hurd's performance in Aquaman?
In the press, you mean? Or what do you mean specifically?
Well, in the press or otherwise.
No, there weren't any negative.
As her talent agent, did you attempt to renegotiate Ms. Hurd's salary for Aquaman 2?
Yes.
When did you do that?
We did that around this time last year.
Why did you attempt to renegotiate it at all?
It's standard to renegotiate these types of deals. It's normal practice. When Aquaman came out, it was the most successful movie of all time ever. So even more so for that reason. But for any successful franchise movie, when you make a 3 or 4 picture deal like we did in success, it's typical to go back and renegotiate the deal.
And now getting to your point, why did you choose to do it last year at this time?
Because that's when her option was exercised.
And when you did get around to trying to negotiate, you and WME successful in doing that?
Correct.
When did he call Warner Brothers to renegotiate the next film?
It would have been the end of February last year.
What year was that? 2021?
Yes.
At some point, were there press reports that Ms. Hurd was getting released from Aquaman 2?
There were online rumors for a while that she was being replaced.
When did you first hear about those?
First, I don't know exactly when, but it was way before. It was way before this. It was maybe even a year before this. 6 months before, maybe.
So nobody ever told you that Warner Brothers misrepresented the reason that they were replacing Ms. Hurd, correct?
Why? No, why would they?
Did there come a time when Ms. Hurd was restored to her role in Aquaman 2?
Yes.
At that time, what were the terms of her restoration to Aquaman 2?
The financial terms?
Yes.
she was going to be making $2 million on the second film.
Was that consistent with the original contract?
Yes.
Is this consistent with what Warner Brothers originally gave as the rationale for not using her in Aquaman 2?
The lack of chemistry between her and Jason?
Yes.
Yes.
So did there come a time when WME came to understand that Ms. Heard's role as Mira in Aquaman 2 was diminished in some way?
When she was sent the script, directly, which is the common practice for these films.
You're aware that Ms. Heard has a contract with L'Oreal, correct?
Yes.
Were you working with Ms. Heard when she signed that contract?
Yes.
What's a bot?
A bot is a fake account that's created to execute a certain objective.
What is your educational background since high school?
College.
What college did you attend?
NYU.
What year did you graduate?
2005.
What was your major?
Communications.
When WME first began working with Ms. Heard as her talent agent, you said she had had some success. How well known was Ms. Heard?
She was pretty famous. She was within the industry. You could call anyone and they knew who she was. So she had a certain level of fame. She had starred in movies and shows already by that point.
Going back and taking a wider lens, over the time that the several years you've worked with Ms. Heard, how would you characterize the arc of her career?
I would say she was a known actress when I started working with her. Like I said, she was someone that you could call executives and producers and people about everyone, knew her name. She hadn't yet reached big star status, but she was definitely, she could get the lead of an independent movie. She could get the lead of a TV series. When I worked with her, we slowly started to strategically, have her work on some more prestigious projects and work with, better directors. And then when she got Justice League, that was a, turning point for her. And then Aquaman, subsequently, was obviously the biggest thing she had ever been a part of.
And is the arc of her career now on the upswing with her being part of Aquaman 2?
No.
Tell me what you mean. Why not?
Because typically, when you have an actor who is in a movie as successful as Aquaman was, their career totally changes. And they're in a different echelon. They, get way more offers. They're just put in a different place, position-wise with studios. They're more bankable, so they can greenlight projects. All of those kind of things are consistent with when you're in a blockbuster of that size. And with her, that did not happen. It happened, very significantly for her co-star. Obviously, he's the lead of the film and he's the title character, but even a small percentage of that did not happen for her. So that's my assessment.
What evidence sitting here today do you have that this caused her career any harm?
Because evidence in that, in my experience and the experience of my colleagues in the experience of this business, you your career takes a turn after something like that. She was very well received in the movie at the time. Everyone was very happy with her at the time. There was no issues. And then to have a complete downturn after that, and then have that coincide with constant tweets and negativity put out about her. I don't have a physical piece of paper of evidence, but it's the only logical conclusion I can draw.
Can you name a single role she has lost as a result of any activity by Adam Waldman or anyone at his behest?
There was a movie at Amazon that she had been offered with Gael Garcia Bernal. I don't know what the final title of it is called now. I can look it up. It had a working title at the time. That they took away from her. And, the lead actor who was a producer on it very much wanted it to be her and was very frustrated with the process. And no one can say out loud, we're taking this away from her because, of this bad press, because it's nothing she did, and it's all hearsay, and it's all, whatever. But there's no other reason.
Now, Ms. Kovacevic, you've testified a bit about Adam Waldman, correct?
Correct.
And can you point us to any career opportunities that Ms. Heard has lost because of any statements made by Mr. Waldman?
I mean, the Amazon movie, for one, is one that is tangible, because that is an example of something that she had before all of it that was then taken away. I know that a campaign she shot for Todd's via Katie Slater was scrapped and not used. There was not another specific example because, like I said to you, no one is going to say to me, oh, we can't hire her because of these tweets or whatever. They just don't want to hire someone that has bad press around them from, these accusations. No one wants someone who's being accused of a liar and making something up and, abusing somebody. No one wants that association with their project.
And directing your attention 10 pages into the article, there's another quote from Mr. Waldman. Mr. Waldman states in this article, quote, quite simply, this was an ambush, a hoax. They set Mr. Depp up by calling the cops, but the first attempt didn't do the trick. The officers came to the penthouses, thoroughly searched and interviewed, and left after seeing no damage to face or property. So Amber and her friends spilled a little wine and roughed the place up, got their stories straight under the direction of a lawyer and publicist, and then placed a second call to 911, end quote. Did I read that correctly?
It just shows the top part of that on this page, but the top part was correct.
Okay. Did any was WME aware of Adam's statement, Mr. Waldman's statements in this particular article?
Yes.
Now, you testified a little bit earlier about there being tweets from Adam. I assume you were referring to Adam Waldman. Is that correct?
Yes.
And what, if any, impact did it have on Amber Heard's career and career path to have Mr. Depp's lawyer putting out statements in the press and in tweets that Amber Heard was lying, making things up, creating a hoax of abuse?
I think that his comments spurred on, it just added fuel to the fire. So there was already so much media coverage.
And that's what you observed?
That's what I observed.
I'm going to take you to Aquaman, and I'll call it Aquaman 1 just to make it a little bit easier to understand. What, if any, performance issues were raised with Amber Heard by anyone that was responsible for the filming of Aquaman?
No performance issues raised whatsoever.
And what was your understanding of how Amber tested with the audiences in Aquaman?
My understanding was that she tested extremely well.
And this is an Aquaman has reflected all the markers of a very successful movie at this point?
Yes.
You testified earlier that it's quite typical when you have a series of 3 to 4 films in a franchise or a series to be able to renegotiate as you go into the sequels. Do you recall that testimony?
Yes.
Okay. And why is that?
Because you make the initial deals, before the movie has done, well. And then when the movie overperforms like that, it's a custom.
In light of the success of Aquaman, would you expect that Amber Heard would be receiving endorsements as of this time?
Yes.
And what is the typical process that happens after someone has starred in a very successful movie, such as Aquaman and Amber with Mira?
The endorsement department would a combination of offers and then seeking out opportunities.
Now, given Amber's career trajectory leading up to and immediately after the success of Aquaman 1, did you expect her career to go on an upward, downward trajectory, or stay the same?
I expected an upward trajectory.
And why is that?
Because in success of a film like that, it's usually always the case.
And immediately after the successes of Aquaman, would you have expected Amber's annual earnings to increase, decrease, or stay the same compared to the previous 5 years?
I would have expected them to increase.
And why is that?
Because her profile had been raised internationally. She was in a movie that was successful worldwide. And when you are in a movie that performs that well worldwide, your bankability is stronger. You can finance an independent film more easily. You can greenlight a film more easily. You can just do more and for more money.
Do you recall what the budget was for Aquaman?
The first one, I don't know. It would have been probably somewhere between 150 and 200 million.
Immediately after the success of Aquaman, would you have expected Ms. Heard to continue to earn at least the fee she made on Aquaman on future big budget studio firms, or less or more?
That becomes an actor's quote, their fee. Yes, typically, like, you will then earn your, not on a tiny independent film, you couldn't make that much money on that, but another studio film, another film at a streamer or whatever, something like that, you would make that much or potentially get a raise.
Other than Aquaman 2, has Amber obtained any roles with a budget the size of Aquaman's?
No.
Has she been hired for any films with budgets over $100 million?
No.
Immediately after the success of Aquaman, would you expect the success of Aquaman and her starring role in that film to increase her ability to get more movie studios to be interested in her, decrease, or stay the same?
Increase.
And did it?
No.
Would you expect her to get more TV roles?
Objection.
Yeah.
And why?
Why? Because I mentioned earlier in the conversation, TV and films are so blended now, and there's much less of a delineation between picking projects between film and TV.
And did Amber receive more TV roles as a result of Aquaman, the success of Aquaman?
No.
Immediately after the success of Aquaman, would you have expected Amber to star in more than one project per year, less, or the same?
It depends. If it was a big, Aquaman takes up 6 months of the year. Big movies take up longer time. Indies, you can do a couple of them a year. It just depends. So I wouldn't put a number on it, but definitely more than 0.
And has Amber starred in more than one project per year since then?
No.
Immediately after the success of Aquaman, did you expect Amber to earn between $5 and $10 million a year for the next 5 years?
I would have expected to renegotiate on Aquaman 2, most certainly. And so right there, that would have been significantly more. And she would have, yes, I would have expected her to earn more in a combination of TV, film, and more endorsements.
Was it your understanding that WME passed on to L'Oreal suggestions to assist them in being able to block some of the harassing Instagrams they were getting at that time?
Yes.
All right. Let's bring up 30 again, please. Now, did in fact L'Oreal suspend having Amber Heard on the International Women's Day campaign?
Yes.
What the conditions were for the renewal?
It was just essentially that they were renewing her. It was the same fee. That was the bulk of it. It wasn't, like a raise, but they were extending her.
Okay. And typically coming out of the success of Aquaman, would you have anticipated that Amber could have negotiated larger fees for commercial projects?
Yes, we would.
Okay. And why would that be?
Because her profile had been raised. She was, she had done something super successful. So typically that's what you would do. That would just be the standard practice.
When did you first learn about the change.org petition that was out there to try to get Amber Heard dropped from Aquaman 2?
I don't know when I first saw it.
Were you aware of it as of May 27, 2020?
Yes.
You earlier talked about bots in response to one of Mr. Chu's questions. What, if anything, was your understanding of these bots at this time, during this time frame?
My understanding is just based off my own, mainly based off my own research, just clicking on the accounts myself, and then discussing it amongst the team.
And what did you learn when you did that?
Just as I would go through, daily, just looking at comments or, just the negative comments, clicking on them. Many of them were just kind of accounts made for this kind of commentary, or just accounts that just had, no followers, no posts, nothing, or following just Amber and Johnny, things like that.
And I'm sorry. And so what did you learn from clicking onto those that led you to believe they were bots?
They weren't consistent with what I know to be actual Instagram accounts.
When you look to set a career trajectory for an actor who just broke out in a major franchise film, would you look to other comparable actors' careers to ascertain what type of acting jobs they could get?
I mean, I've been doing this job for, quite some time, so I don't necessarily look to one or the other, but in general, when someone is in, what was at the time the most successful film ever released, the natural progression is growth and more films, more work, more money, all of that stuff.
And when you say the most successful film ever, you're referring to Aquaman 1, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Are comparable actors' salaries used in your mind to ascertain the asking price for an actor in a similar film? Are comparable actors' salaries used in your mind to ascertain the asking price for an actor in a similar film?
Yes.
Would you consider Ana de Armas' career to be comparable to Amber's in measuring where Amber would have been after Aquaman 1? Or should have been?
Ana de Armas, yes, I would say that would be a comparable, that would be a good comp.
All right. Yes, ma'am. Is that what you have for today?
That's it.
Okay. All right.